So guys, welcome back to the podcast. So today we're going to be interviewing Danielle Hewitt. We're going to be talking everything about what was life like before JD training, what made her step up and make that decision to join in, and everything in between. So Danielle's travelled up from the South Coast, so it's going to be incredible to hear her journey. So Danielle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So talk to me a little bit, Danielle, about like what was life like before, and what made you make that kind of decision to make a change? Had you tried things in the past? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I've always had like a weight loss problem, a weight problem. Previously I've done Slimming World. My family have both been consultants in Slimming World.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my mum and my sister were both Slimming World consultants.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So from a young age, I joined Slimming World when I didn't have to pay because I was under like 13, and I've always hopped in, hopped out,
Right.
lost 7 pounds, gone back a year later, 2 stone heavier, lost 4 pounds, done that. So I've always been conscious of my weight. And then I have lost weight, and then I got pregnant, had my children, gained weight, gained more weight, ended up heavier than I was 9 months pregnant with my youngest.
Right, okay.
And I think I just got to a point where something had to change. Slimming World wasn't working for me. I needed something new.
So that's something you'd kind of been exposed to for quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's taken me a lot to figure out that the number on the scales isn't the main thing I need to focus on. I think from a young age, what I weighed was just the only metric I ever looked at.
You didn't look at anything else. No. It was just that sole metric.
Yeah.
And I think one of the common things that's come up, and obviously I'm very aware of it because, as you well know, we've got 4 under the age of 6, and it is like childbirth and then like kind of how life changes and then gaining weight. So talk to me a little bit about that. Was you moving less? Was you eating more? Like, what was the trigger to you actually gaining the weight?
I think when I got pregnant, it was the whole, you're eating for 2.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, you're eating for 2, which is fun. You think, oh, no, it's okay. Yeah, I am. When actually you don't need to. But I think I've realised since joining that how affected I was by my weight. When I had my first daughter, I weighed myself weekly and I kept a chart of how much I weighed through my whole pregnancy.
All right.
Yeah, and I think that's really bad looking back.
Again, it kind of comes down to, like, as you well know, whether it be diet clubs, I try not to judge things as good or bad. It's bad if you look back and you feel like something was taken from you couldn't relax, then obviously it's bad. But also people could say that's just taking accountability. Yeah. So it depends how it feels for you.
I think looking back, I was trying not to gain weight. It was a don't gain too much. You should only gain this much when you're pregnant. So that's what I think. It was a bad. I don't think it was good for me.
Yeah,
definitely bad.
Yeah, and I think that's something. Obviously, it isn't me that's given birth, but I think it's something that I can kind of relate to because I've watched Sam with our first baby and our second baby kind of be in that mentality of, I'm eating for 2. I'm not really bothered. I'll think about it afterwards.
Yeah, I'll do it later.
And then she got in great shape between the second and third child. And I've definitely seen a difference with the third and the fourth pregnancy where she strength trained all the way through. Yeah. She went to the gym still religiously 4 or 5 times a week. She continued to strength train. She continued to keep her cardio up. And she definitely was more conscious about, she wasn't weighing herself, but she was definitely more conscious about the fact that she was making better decisions and she didn't have to eat for 2. Yeah. So obviously there's the eating for 2. We obviously have the pregnancy, we have the birth, and then what does it look like after that? So you said that it was after the second one.
Yeah.
What kind of stemmed you in? What was the kind of catalyst that you went, this is the sign that I need to make a change?
I think clothes. I went up another size. I went up to a size 16, and I was not buying a size 18. I was not, and they were tight. They hurt. I have to wear like black trousers at work. And by the end of the day, I had like a big red ring around my stomach, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm not buying bigger trousers. I refuse to do it. Something's got to change.
And that's not like, obviously for the people watching at home, we go through, we talk to people all the time, and I always say, I want people to get in the best physical and mental shape of their life. But by no means is going up to a size 18 like the biggest that everyone's ever been. So what was it for you that you were like, was it like you'd never been there before? You just like, I just refuse.
Yeah, so I've never been that size before, and I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I knew if I'd gone to an 18, I'd have gone to a 20.
Right,
I'd have just kept going because I needed something to stop me.
Yeah.
I needed something to
So
stop.
the catalyst was kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
No.
I need to take action
Yeah.
now. And then what, had you tried anything other than Slim World? Had you tried PT? Had you tried going to a gym at that point? What did that look like?
No, never.
Never?
Never. No, it was just Slim World, and it never, it wasn't what I needed. But no, never done. I've been to a gym. Never thought I'd ever be in a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, never done PTs. No.
Cool. So you've tried Slimming World.
Yeah.
It's not worked. You've then obviously had the kids. You've got to a point where you're like, I'm not happy. I'm not going to this size. What was the point? What made you sign up to JD Training? Where did it come onto your radar? How long did you follow me online? How long was it before you made that decision to actually kind of take that leap? Let's say.
So I found you through Gemma.
Yeah, that's a common trend. We've had Gemma on. Gemma will be the first podcast that we release, and I think that's been a common trend. Is people. And so was it did you see the transformation, or did you see her working with me prior, or what? At what point?
So I saw a transformation, and that's when I started following you.
Yeah.
And then in the January, I got my Fitness Pal.
Okay.
And I started tracking what I should, how many I put my height and my weight in, and then it told me how many calories. So from there, I started to think about what's going in, what's going out, and I put like my steps in and everything.
Yeah.
So from then, that's when it started. I started, and then obviously I joined in April.
Yeah, so that's quite a big step. So let's kind of go back to that then. So obviously you've followed Gemma, you've seen her transformation, and then in the January you download MyFitnessPal, which is, I think, a massive step in it if you're coming from like a diet club culture. What did that feel like? Did it feel alien? Did it make sense? Did it kind of give you some relief? What did that feel like when you started tracking calories?
It was a huge thing because going from Slimming World where you don't weigh and measure pasta, rice, things like that, you realise that, my meal might be healthy, but the calories I was intaking was horrendous.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous. So it made me think about, this is how many you should have. This is how many calories I need to have to be healthy. And I'm going way over that, like mega over. So it was, it was a big learning curve.
And I think this is a common misconception, is like when anybody kind of gets in touch with me, whether that be face to face, whether that be on Instagram, and they're talking about this kind of diet culture and this diet club culture, and they're quite surprised when I'm so blunt and I say, you're consuming too much food, and they're like, well, you don't know that. And I'm like, well, I do, because you're gaining body fat, and that is what happens when you consume surplus calories. And they are so shocked by the fact that I can just come out with an outlandish statement like that, or what sounds like an outlandish statement, without even looking at their food. And they're like, no, you just don't get it, I eat healthy. And I'm like, yeah, but you're consuming too much food. So again, I think that's a poignant point to talk about, because again, if there's anyone watching the podcast that's thinking of like taking action, that's a good first step in it, I would say, is download MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
Even if you don't track all your meals at the beginning, you just start scanning things, and you just get an idea of what's calories are in foods.
Yeah.
So how did that, obviously you're taller than the average person.
A little bit.
So was you shocked at how many calories it was giving you? Was you like, oh, I don't consume that much?
Yeah.
What did that
Because
like?
I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
So I'm taller than the average woman. So, and I'm very much, I can eat what a man can eat. I'm big as a man, so I don't go on what women can eat. I go on what men can eat.
You're bigger than this man.
But it's not about that. It's not about that. So I was quite shocked at how much I was eating.
And what was the biggest shock with regards MyFitnessPal? Because I think people have this conception that, I think people understand like, oh, if I have a bar of chocolate, there's going to be a lot of calories in it. But then I think there's also like some people will be like, well, I didn't realise there were so many calories in, let's say, I don't know, peanut butter. I didn't realise there were so many calories in nuts. I didn't realise there were so many calories in watermelon. Whatever you come across. Was there anything that you saw and you was like, I really didn't realise that?
I didn't realise how much I was eating in pasta and rice.
Yeah.
100%. Because, I'd fill a bowl, rice. I was having thousands of calories of just pasta and rice.
Just pasta and rice.
Just because, and it was a bit.
And there's definitely something to be said in like, again, I talk about diet club culture all the time, and I'm not one of these people that is instantly will just jump on and bash it. It's got its place, and if it helps people, it helps people, and I'm all for people getting help. But I think there's definitely something to be said for, we need to understand that there's obviously calorie dense food and nutrient dense food, and this kind of thing of like free food is just, it's just not real. Everything's got a certain amount of calories in them. And I think there's a little bit of empowerment in knowing that actually I can eat anything I want as long as I track it and I know how many calories are in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what made you take that step then? So you started counting calories in January. You signed up, was it in the April you said?
Yeah, April.
Yeah. So what made you take that step? Because obviously you'd seen Gemma's transformation. So obviously you started following me. Was there a transformation? Was there a point that you weren't happy or your results stalled? What was it that made you take that first step?
So I got to kind of April and I'd logged kind of, I'm a bit of a boring person, everyone will tell you. I eat the same meals. I have the same breakfast. I have the same meals practically every day of the week. So I'd logged all my food, so I knew what I was eating, but I still wasn't getting the results. I thought I'd just log my food and do a bit of walking and I'd be, fit as a fiddle in a couple of weeks. But it didn't work that way. I was depressed. I was on antidepressants. I was on herbal antidepressants. And I was like, something needs to change. I don't want this to be me anymore. I wasn't a very nice person. I was emotional and, I'd cry any minute because I just wasn't happy.
Yeah.
I hated the way I looked. And then when I say I hated it. I'd get changed from the light off, wouldn't get changed in front of my husband. I hated myself.
Yeah.
And I thought, something's got to change.
And clearly...
Like, literally, something's got to change now.
Yeah, and I think people think you have to get to a certain point to have them feelings.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're 6'4".
Yeah.
So being like a size 16, let's say, that's not overly massive, is it?
Yeah.
But I think people can kind of tell you how to feel.
Yeah.
But for you, that clearly was very, very upsetting and you weren't happy at all.
No.
So you joined in the April. What was your first thoughts when you joined? Like, what was your first thoughts? Like, what was you must have, obviously, did you attending the welcome call?
Yeah, I attended the welcome call and then the Sunday call after.
Yeah, and all right. So what was your first thoughts? What was like that first experience like?
I was excited. I was really excited to get going and I was hoping I wouldn't fail, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Will I do it? Will I not do it? Will I still be the same in 16 weeks? I've seen other people's transformations, so I know something's got to work, but will it work for me? So I was a bit nervous, but I was excited as well. Yeah,
and I think that's something, we just spoke about that previously with Helen, and I think one of the things I say about confidence or insecurity is like, if you've got, let's say every decision that you've made previously to kind of taking control of your weight hasn't worked, you're going to feel that kind of, you're going to feel nervous, you're going to feel that insecurity, like, can I achieve it? And that's completely normal. I think people look at that and they're like, oh, well, it's not for me because I don't think I'll achieve it. And it's like, well, if you don't have any experience of achieving what you want to achieve, you're going to feel like that. And the only way to change it is to take action and start daily, weekly, monthly, kind of building new experiences towards the person essentially what you want to be. So what was them first two calls like then? And you can be as brutal as you want.
No, they were really good. They were really good. I'm glad I joined them. But yeah, they're really good, really informative, and I couldn't wait to get going, if I'm honest.
Cool. So at what point did you start to think, like, there's maybe something in this? Because obviously you'd been tracking your food, you'd been walking, but you started then, obviously we deliver education every single week, but obviously the big change probably for you was the fact of starting to increase resistance training. So what, was there a point where you thought, oh, there's something in this? How did you feel about it at the beginning?
So I think when I thought this is for me, is probably the first 8 weeks where I just lost every week.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It was hard, but I could still live. I didn't have to go, no, I don't want that bit of cake, or I can't go out for lunch. I went out and I had informed choices. I knew what I could have, tracked it all, and I could still go, I've still lost weight.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still doing it, and I've not thrown the towel in, and then the ball just started rolling.
Cool. And I think I say that all the time, especially if you come from a culture of you can have this, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can have this. I think if you're moving from that kind of culture into tracking calories, you realise you can have anything you want, but your choices are then going to have an impact on how many calories you've got left for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But you still can have cake, you still can have chocolate.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to limit the portion size maybe. So by the end of the 16 weeks, what was your thoughts?
I loved it. Yeah, because when we first did our first picture, oh my God, I hate it. I hate that picture. I look and think, that was not me. That's not me. I was never that big. So yeah, by the end of the 16 weeks, I was so chuffed. Yeah. And then I was scared because I thought, oh, now I've got to try and join the gym.
So before we get to the gym then, let's talk about obviously the community. So your first community meetup, what was your first community meetup?
What was mine?
What was it like?
What was my first meetup?
5K? Was it the 5K?
Yeah, it was.
You didn't run it, did
I
you?
didn't run it, I walked it because I don't run. And everyone says to me, but Joe puts running on our programme, and I said, yeah, I don't do it. And they're like, but what do you do? I go for a walk, but I do my non-training calories.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't run it? No, I don't do running.
But that I think that was definitely your first meetup, wasn't it? I remember you coming, and I remember you being like, I'm not running.
I don't run.
Like, I'll walk around kind of thing. But I remember that's like the first time like we'd met in person, and then obviously since then you've been to other events, haven't you? So what was that like, meeting up with the people for the first time?
It was a bit surreal. I remember saying, I'm like, you're all like celebrities because I only ever see you on my phone.
I was like, if I'm a celebrity in your life is rubbish because I'm not a celebrity. But yeah, I do actually remember you saying that.
Yeah. So it was really surreal, but lovely. Just everyone. You can't get a nicer bunch of people together. If I'm honest.
Well, it's crazy to think now, and I often relay this back, and I say this to people when they come to the first event, is like, obviously people come in like to Farmer Strong now, they see like you as like one of the regulars, they see you as like one of the like integrated members. They're looking and being like, oh, they know everybody. And I say to people all the time, like, these people they talk a lot online. They've met up a couple of times, but they're not seeing each other every day.
No.
So I think this is the thing I say to people in the community is like, we've all got a common goal. But if you come to one event, you will then, from that point on, realise that actually everybody is in the same position. So what was the transition? Let's talk about the gym then. So we finished the first 16 weeks. And then we obviously had a discussion, like, what was that like?
I was scared. I'd never thought I'd ever go to the gym. But you said, if you want more results, gym's the best place. And I was like, oh, do I give it a go? Do I not give it a go? My other half goes to the gym. So I thought, we'll just do it. So the first time I went with him, which was good support. And then he literally walked me around and was like, that's the toilet, that's the changing room, this is everything. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
I think that's, and going back to that, and kudos to him as well, because I think sometimes like that's exactly what you need in it, is just to get through the door. I say this to people all the time, like people are like, oh my God, I'm like, just like literally go, get through the door, get on a treadmill, put on an incline walk, and just spectate. Just look round, figure out, oh, that's the chest press, that's the leg. You don't have to do anything. Don't put pressure on yourself. Just go. So I think obviously you having kind of your partner to do that is probably he's good, and that's a real good support network. So he texts you the first time, and then what happens? And then
I'm off. I'm off and running. I'm going. I've started going early where it's quieter. And then that's gradually got earlier and earlier. But it's my routine, so it works. But and then that's it. I didn't stop, didn't look back, would not go now. Which is weird. But I love it.
And would you say, obviously, with regards, obviously my program is very much strength training in it. So a lot of people always ask, oh, do we do HIIT sessions? Is it all like jumping up and down and burpees? And obviously there's a little bit of that in there, and there's definitely some conditioning stuff, but the majority of the workouts is aimed towards getting people moving more, eating more protein, essentially weight training every single week, and changing the body composition by building muscle. So how have you found weight training?
I've really enjoyed it. I used to worry when I first started going, because it is mainly a male-led area. But I think once you've been a couple of times, you realise that nobody's looking at you.
I say it all the time.
Nobody's looking at what you're doing. You're probably more looking at what everyone else is doing, because you're looking going, what are they doing over there? Oh, look what she's using. Nobody's looking at you. So just go and do you and get out. But I love it.
100%. And I say that all the time, like, and I'm quite open about it. I say anyone that trains to the extent I do, as like, whether it because I failed at football, whether it because I'm under 6 foot, wherever it comes from, I am not that much shorter. But no, whether it's because I'm under 6 foot, everyone's got things going on, don't they? Everyone's got like their insecurities, everyone's there for a reason. And I say to people 9 times out of 10, people are looking at themselves. Like they're focusing on their performance, they're focusing on their physique, they're focusing on what they're trying to work on for them rather than, oh, what's she doing in it? And I genuinely mean that. And I've never, ever come across a gym that hasn't had that kind of supportive community. And if you go in the morning, don't you, as well? So if you go in the morning, you kind of get that, like, I say it all the time to people, it's like the silent nod. So
Yeah.
you see people that are there every morning and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
That's
and it's,
it, yeah.
it's like that sign of respecting it, or
Yeah.
we're both here again
Yeah.
kind of thing. So talk to me a little bit about, obviously you started weight training. What was that transition like? Because I know we've had lots of conversations like it, because obviously eventually we go, right, the scales have got to stop going down.
Yeah.
We don't focus too much on the scales. We move away from that. We start focusing on progressive overload, building muscle. And that can be quite a hard transition, can't it? So talk to me a little bit about that. What did that feel like when we started focusing on more so on transforming the way that you look and your body composition and building muscle, because you're not getting that instant feedback every week of, oh, I've lost. What did that feel like?
That's hard. That's something that I've really struggled with.
I think you are, when I say this, I think you are one of the people that kind of sticks out when I talk about this phase, because you're probably coming out the back end of it now, but I think you are one of the people that was really open about it.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, a lot of the people, they will maybe struggle, but they won't talk about it. But you've been quite open about it, haven't you? Like, especially with me. So what was the struggle, and what was it that was triggering you? Was it the scales? Which was it?
I think you pinpointed it the other day. When I was losing weight, every week I got on them scales, or twice a week, I'd have a little cheer. I'm doing it. Something's happening. Yes. Now scales are exactly the same. You look at yourself, think, do I look any different? Oh, I'm not sure. And I'm maybe getting PBs and progressive overload at the gym, but it wasn't giving me like that buzz every week.
Yeah.
So I felt every week, every Monday, I'd like, oh, do I need to go to the gym? I'm going to go to the gym. Because the scales haven't changed. So I've really struggled. It's been the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I say all the time, and I know, like I say it on the Sunday calls quite a lot, and I say, like, this can be quite triggering for people, but actually the calorie deficit phase, I believe, is the easiest phase. The reason I think people believe it's the hardest one is because most people never get out of it.
Yeah.
They're like in a calorie deficit, then they'll gain weight, calorie deficit, then they won't go to the gym for a while, and they never get out of it. But actually, if you're looking to go like a full journey of like calorie deficit, and then you're getting into like reverse dieting, a progressive overload, a surplus, building muscle, and you go through this full journey, which most people that train in the gym do. People that are new to the gym don't recognise there's even that kind of journeys there. And we don't talk about it too much at the beginning because we don't want to kind of overwhelm people. But that's essentially what we're trying to do. We try to get them to lose weight at home, get comfortable, lift some weights, and then get them into a gym, because we know that environment's great for mental health and stuff like that. So it is hard. Like I say this to people all the time, and I get why people struggle, because you aren't getting that clap on the scales. You aren't putting that photo on Instagram. You aren't getting someone, and also, especially when you've been on a journey for a long time, people are used to this new version of you. So you're not getting people every 2 minutes going, oh, you look amazing. So it goes from, and I said this on another podcast, it goes from like, we have to be really clear on what are your goals. Yeah. Because it goes from like this kind of extrinsic where everyone's like saying you've done really well, the scales are telling you've done really well, to, right, this is an internal now. So this is like intrinsic. This is like, what do I want? I'm trying to build a physique, and it's going to be slower, but I have to start focusing on different metrics, and you've obviously struggled with that. How have you transitioned to like overcoming that? Because I would say, like, obviously you have your struggles still, but you're coming out of the back end of it now. What's been the catalyst? What's made you like change your mind or start to change your belief system? I
think the community has helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because I have lent on them quite a bit, saying, you know, has anyone else struggled with maintenance? And
I don't think you have lent on them. So
don't you?
No, I don't. I just think you're honest, and I think because remember, I see conversations in the background.
Yeah.
So I will have these conversations with lots of people a lot of the time. I think you've just been more open about discussing it, because I see it all the time. I think people are probably just wait for, like, when you've said it, and then it kind of opens the floodgates, and people are like, oh yeah, I struggle with that. Yeah, I really struggle with that. But I'm having them conversations in the background all the time, and then you've just been the one person to kind of express it outwardly in the community.
Oh, really?
So I think that is, so how have you've went into the community, how's that helped?
Well, because a lot of people have been through it. People feel the same, which makes me think, oh, at least it's not me. And I think I've learned, because I've gone through so many years of only going by what the scales say, it's a bit of a mind change. My whole mind's got to change, that you've done the weight, you're done. Ignore, we weigh just to make sure we're not gaining too much, eating too much. But now you need to focus on something else.
Yeah, and
it's hard. But
it is hard, and you're right. And I say it, like, I talk about it all the time with regards, like me starting my own business and stuff like that, like I've had certain personas, let's say, that have definitely served me in the past. But changing the way you think about something is difficult. Behavior change is really difficult. And this is why I say it all the time, and I know it triggers people at the beginning, but losing weight is really easy. It's a calorie deficit. And if you're in a calorie deficit, it will drop off. What is hard is behaviour change. What is hard is changing your habits, changing your belief system, moving away from the scales and going, right, I'm going to focus on these other metrics. I'm going to focus on how much weight I'm lifting. I'm going to focus on where I'm lifting them correctly. I'm going to focus on being consistent, because that's where it is. So what does it look like right now? I know you still have your ups and downs, but what metrics are you focusing on right now? And obviously what's important to you moving forward?
At the minute, I'm focusing what I'm pressing, what I'm weight training. I'm trying to gain on my husband.
Try to catch your husband.
Yeah, I am. So that's what I'm focusing on at the minute. And I don't know really. Just what do you say?
What is it? Sorry. What's the goal moving forward?
To get stronger.
Yeah.
I hate the fact at the minute, what I want to change, I don't hate it, what I've changed at the minute is when you're at the gym, you look really pumped, love it, then I feel like I go out and then I get little sausage arms.
Right, welcome.
So I want to look like I work out without working out.
Yeah, well,
do you know what I mean? I want to work out, but you know, I want people to go, oh, does she go to the gym? Oh, she's got nice arms.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's good that you've mentioned this, and I think you'll probably start to resonate, like, you'll see these memes on social media all the time, like, oh, gym bros doing press-ups before they go out, because like you literally do look different. And what happens is, obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger was the one that kind of brought it to life, and he was like, oh, it's the pump. But actually when the muscles fill with blood, they look different. And it is that like addictive process of like, wow, I've got muscles and I can see it, and obviously your body fat's down, so you can see the muscle. So I think it's good that you've recognised that and you've said that, because again, they are things that stereotypically females wouldn't say.
Yeah.
The females are all like, oh, the scales, whereas I think that's a great goal, by the way. I think that is a fantastic goal, to be like, I want to look like I work out when I'm not pumped. I think that can be the goal. So what would be your advice to anyone kind of sat at home thinking about joining, or sat at home thinking about moving away from some kind of diet culture? What would be your advice to someone taking that first step?
I'd say you need to think about it, because I think I came in with a lot of excuses.
Right, okay.
And you don't do excuses.
I don't.
But I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed someone that was going to tell me that that's an excuse. Don't, I haven't got time. Yes, you do. Everyone has time. The same 24 hours in the day. So if you don't like that, then don't do it. Yeah. But if you need someone to be true, then just do it. It was the best thing I ever did.
I think the thing I do, and I shouldn't really probably say it on a podcast, because people will then know my secret weapon, but one of the things we do is we do daily tracking, don't we?
Yeah.
So when we do daily tracking, one of the things that I get people to write down is screen time.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is because, again, that's something that a coach did with me, and I recorded that for every day for the best part of, like, let's say 16 weeks. Yeah. And then I had to really come to terms with, and I talk about it all the time, and I've said it on another podcast, we call it the victim mentality. Yeah. And people don't like that terminology. Yeah. But when I say that, what I mean by that is everyone believing that it's just them. Yeah. And I've fallen into it, and I fell into it with screen time as well. And I would tell myself the same excuse, like, I'm an online coach, like, of course I need to be on my phone. And it's like, well, you don't need to be on your phone that much. Yeah. And that's the thing when it comes to, like, people making excuses. Is life hard for everybody? Yes. You've spoke about your struggles. Everyone's got their struggles. Yeah. It's obviously you've got young kids as well, but anyone can wake up and be like, and I fall into this trap all the time of like, oh yeah, well, I've got 4 kids. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? As if that's, and like someone else might be caring for their elderly relatives. Someone else might be going through depression. Someone else might be going through a breakup, whatever that may be. We've all got life pressures. But I think having the ability to be honest with yourself and take responsibility for the way you want to look and the way you want to feel is hard at the beginning, but long term is definitely empowering. And I think there's a lot to be said in that. So what's been the highlight of joining JD Training?
I love the community meetups. I love them. The best one is Farm Strong.
Yeah,
sorry, hands down.
To be fair,
down the best.
Yeah, I will agree with you. And I think that was one that I probably wasn't really sure about, because obviously, as you know, we have a lot of people that maybe have worked out from home, are just quite new to to kind of transferring into a gym, and obviously Farmers Strong is it was very functional, wasn't it? There was a lot going on, there was a lot of movements that maybe were a little bit more complex, but I think watching people kind of come together, I think there's something to be said, and I say this all, there's something to be said for connection, but also right now in the way that the world is, I think there's definitely something to be said for connection, but also getting outdoors as well. And I think that just gives people that ability to breathe, a little bit of a circuit breaker from whatever's going on in their life. And I think I come away from Farmers Strong and I was like, I think that was the best one. And it's definitely going to be one. Charlie will be happy with this, won't he? It was definitely the best one. And I think it's definitely one that we will put on like every single year from now on. So I think I'd agree with you with that one. Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. And I hope you got something from Danielle's story, and I hope something along that story resonated with you. Take action as soon as possible, guys.